My name is James. I'm 55 years of age. I'm an AVP facilitator. I'm an ex-prisoner. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I'm a brother. An uncle. And I'm an LLB in law as well.
Le bhí ag teachtasteach an Chaisleán Riomh go luath. Seachas an bhfearna na bhfuil gur maith bhfuil as sport taistil de hir lo there.
I spent nearly 12 years in prison. 7 of them I'd have been involved with the AVP. I facilitated many workshops. I've seen amazing uh, transformations during my time with other inmates. I've seen transformations with um, facilitators or people who come in from the outside. I've seen women and men come in and form bonds with people that they would never normally actually associate with. Um, you know, when you get back down to a human level with individuals and you treat people like human beings, there's this transformation that it's indescribable. You have to actually see it to see it. I'd one incident where I'd 2 lads who were they'd been in for a lot of violent crimes, house robberies, tying people up, all that sort of stuff. And a lady came in. She'd been in her maybe 50s, 60s. She was coming into as a facilitator, and they formed a bond of 3 of them. And they looked at this woman like their grandmother, and she told a story of them, like to them, of how her house was broken into. And I remember them coming back into my cell one evening, and they sat down beside me, and they didn't understand what the word psychological damage was. And this woman explained it to them in simple terms at a workshop. And I remember them sitting down saying, you know, and it was almost like, if you ever see a shark bite, when a shark bites, they have a second set of eyelids that close over on their eyes. And these kids sat down beside me, and for the first time in their life, they actually realised they had no idea that by breaking into people's homes that they were causing really serious psychological damage. And for the first time in their life, they sat there and sort of looked at me and gone, I now understand what's had to happen to that woman. And you could see the pain in their eyes because they'd formed a bond with that woman. And that was just one incident, you know what I mean? And there's lots and lots of incidents that we've gone through in the prison system because AVP came in and built a community for us. So there was men and women, from my perspective, it was men who could be able to form a bond with each other and create this bond and create a bond with the outside facilitators as well. That, you know, when you'd see them coming in, you knew they were genuinely coming in just to help us. And I think in some ways we helped them, you know what I mean? I think it was a symbiotic relationship, you know, where like people were coming in, they were getting a deeper understanding of how we thought, and we were getting a deeper understanding of how they were.
You have between 12 to 20 people in a room, and they're in a circle of chairs, and we do discussion, collaborative activities in big groups, in small groups, games to lighten the mood sometimes, role plays, so it's quite various. But we always come back to this circle and to the discussion we do in circles. And I think it's very important that this setting of the circles, I think it's something that has been forgotten in our modern society. We don't do that anymore, to come in a circle and discuss things that are important. And I do think that's what makes AVP powerful, is that setting of chairs and people talking and sharing and listening to each other.
It's not easy to describe how people benefit from something. For a go-off, one doesn't know. One has a workshop and it's an experiential occasion. It's not a didactic. We don't teach people anything. We open up discussion and topics that might be worth discussing between themselves, and even hopefully when they go back to their cell in the evening to think about. And I remember one particular occasion, right at the beginning actually, a man who we used to call Blondie. Blondie was, of course, blonde, a big, tall, handsome man, and during the workshop he was not really very cooperative, but the next day he was sitting in the yard and he decided that when the governor did his rounds that he would attack the governor. However, something happened and he remembered the weekend that he'd just come off, and he put the blade that was in his hand back in his pocket. And Blondie, it was what one can call a Damascus experience, a sudden realization that this was not the helpful way to live a life, and that he would like to think differently. And from then onwards, Blondie became one of the best facilitators I've ever known.
For me personally, prison dehumanises you. You know, you almost go back to an animalistic state in that, like, you know, everything is controlled. And, I mean, everything from the time you get up to the time you're unlocked, you know, you're food. It's a regime you're put into, and then you know, you've got authority figures over you constantly.
I have learned that being in contact with those who are in prison has enlarged my perspective on humanity, on community, on connection, and on my own pretty fortunate life circumstances, because I often reflect when I'm in prison that if I had been forced to live my life in some of the situations that I'm hearing about when doing an AVP workshop, if I had had some of those experiences, might I too be here? And it's very, very likely that I would be.
Great feeling to give back to the community. You know, when you've got something in your life and you've got a bit of time, it's great to give back to community. And what you're doing is you're helping society in itself, because if AVP can change my way of thinking, and I would have seen myself as a, you know, before I got AVP, as a quite a violent man, and, you know, someone that had, you know, no sort of respect at all for authority or for society in itself. For me to be sitting here today after doing a degree and after, you know, changing my life around that, like, you know, anything is possible. And I wouldn't have done this unless the likes of people from the outside had come in and shown me a bit of compassion and shown me that, like, you know, it wasn't always about, you know, I made mistakes, and, you know, at the end of the day, if I'm genuine and really want to change my life around, that there's people there that will put their hands out and help. And I think, you know, if more people were like that, I think the world, society itself would probably be a better place to live in.
I believe everybody is basically born to be good, to be loving, to be helpful, and that seed is within ourselves. And we can encourage it and allow it to grow and water it and feed it and ponder on it. Or we needn't. We have the choice. The choice is always there. And hopefully AVP helps people to make the choice in the right direction.